Hi, this is Larry London. Welcome to Border Crossings. Today, we are joined by singer-songwriter Lauren Calve, who recorded her latest album, which is actually her debut full studio-length album in Nashville. We've got her with us today. Lauren Calve, welcome to the Voice of America. Welcome to the worldwide audience.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
It's great to have you on the show. So tell me, this new album is called Shift. And what shifted? What changed in your life that you want to call the album Shift?
Yes, so the album is definitely appropriately titled because it definitely followed actually a personal shift of mine. And the songs were written, of course, during quarantine when everyone was experiencing a shift at the same time. But yeah, for me personally, it was, a long-term relationship that sort of was coming to an end, and some other things personally. I stopped drinking. I made some pretty big life shifts that needed to be made. And what's interesting about the album is that I actually wrote the song Shift, which the album is named after, before any of this took place. And I feel like the songs on the album became a catalyst for me to make these personal shifts of mine, these personal changes that needed to be made, that have made my life better.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you gave me a lot of different subjects to talk about on the show here. I mean, so first of all, this 6-year relationship that came to an end ultimately, right as you'd finished the album. So did you have to rework some songs that might have been in a happier frame of mind to make them more about breaking up, or did you just go with what you had?
I went with what I had, but what was interesting about that was looking back at a few of the songs. It's interesting to see how some of the imagery and metaphors actually kind of spoke to my frame of mind at the time, because as with any breakup, I think, people mull it over before it actually happens. It's not something that just happens in the blink of an eye and you break up. So
right. There
were some things latent, I think, in my mind that came through in the songs. So actually some of the songs do have not an explicit breakup theme to them, but there were definitely some signs in there, some kind of like foreshadowing going on.
And you were emotionally prepared then, I guess, for ultimately what would be the end of the relationship.
Right. Yes. And these songs helped me get there. I was processing again, like subconsciously through the songs, and that ultimately, yeah, like I said, was a catalyst and helped me reach that final, knowing, that final kind of culminating effect that when you're just like, something needs to change, I need to make this decision for me.
And most songwriters would probably all agree that writing music can be therapeutic. I mean, as you're writing songs, getting your feelings out, because the listener doesn't know whether this is a true story or not a true story. Was it your life? Was it something you observed? But yeah, it's got to be therapeutic to be able to express yourself through your music.
Absolutely. Yes, it really is.
We're talking with Lauren Calve. So the previous EP in 2020 was right in the throngs of COVID. And then you recorded your album in Nashville. And where had you recorded previously?
Previously, I had recorded locally. My 2020 EP, Wildfire, was recorded in Falls Church, Virginia, maybe a 40-minute drive from me. And my previous albums were recorded in other studios in the area as well. So this was the first one where I, leveled up, if you will, and went to Nashville, which is a whole, it really is a level up, and you're playing with, some of the best musicians in the world.
Right. You perform with Grammy-winning musicians on the new album, and you've got some tremendously talented producers working with you. Is this a normal thing? Do you like to produce your own music, or have you had producers work with you before?
In the previous releases, yeah, I think I like to be the producer, or at least co-producer. But this time I really put it in Dex Green's hands, who produced Shift. And he works with Nicole Adkins and Margot Price, and yes, was recently nominated for a Grammy for the work he did mixing an album that was in the blues category, forgetting the artist name, but very impressive multi-instrumentalist and producer. And so I was confident in his ability to shepherd me through that process. And yeah, so, and I liked the experience of having a producer, because when you're in the studio, it's hard to maintain an objective viewpoint on your songs, on the way that they're coming together in the studio. So it's nice to have that objective person who can kind of direct things as they need to go. So it's kind of a weight off in a way.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, some singers want to, you know, because it's you have the story in your head and you want to tell that story. But when a producer comes in and says, I want more bass, I want more treble, I want more of this and less of that, and can you give me more energy in the song? And you're saying, this, when I wrote it, I wasn't thinking energy, you know. So a producer can be good and can also be, you know, a challenge, I guess, at times. But it sounds like from, you know, your album, which is called Shift, it seems that everything worked out well. The new album is out now. It just came out September 1st. And are you planning a tour around the album?
Yes. I am going to be co-headline touring with Joey Friendo. And we'll be out in September and October for various dates, going as far north as Vermont, as far south as Alabama, and as far west as Nashville, I think. So we're hitting quite a few different places, and very excited to be touring on Shift, and doing it in a solo setting too. I think will be nice, because there's a lot of background with my first full-length album. It's the most personal. The Shift is also about a shift in sound, and how this is a more authentic, more authentic sounding record for me. So I'm excited to tour solo and to be able to tell these stories and to connect with people that way.
All right. What are you going to do for us first? Which song?
So the first song I'm going to play is Shift, the title track and the leadoff single.
And that single's been out for a while. It's doing quite well. And we'll talk with Lauren Calve more and find out more about the album Shift. And here's the song, the title track, Shift, on Border Crossings.
Tectonic plates slip underwater. I feel a shift. Finally screamed, I can't hold it all. A tidal wave crests 200 feet tall. Shift.
Border Crossings. The song is called Shift. It's Lauren Calve who's with us. And so when you say a change or a shift in the musical sounds of the album, how has your music evolved? I mean, from what your EP was to this? I mean, would you say it's more edgy, more rocky, more what, other than personal?
Right. Yeah. So the shift in sound definitely came through writing these songs in quarantine and during long periods of silence and, self-reflection as we were all going through being stuck at home. And I found myself singing differently and playing guitar differently in a softer way and a maybe more nuanced way and a maybe more emotive way. And then that translated in the studio, I think, to more expressive guitar tones, less overtly roots rock or blues rock, which I think my other releases lean toward, where I feel like Shift is maybe transitioning into maybe more of an indie sound, but definitely still rooted, no pun intended, in an American roots music for sure, like under the Americana umbrella.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did that influence your music styles? I mean, Americana roots music. What made you go in that direction with your music?
I'm not really sure. I mean, I grew up listening to all kinds of music, but definitely rooted in the storytelling tradition, from classic rock to, when I first learned guitar, Sheryl Crow and Michelle Branch and Mariah Carey was my favorite singer. And so all of these styles are rooted in blues and country and folk music. And once I started writing music that I didn't hate, and I was actually starting to express myself the way that I wanted to, I wanted to, discover where this rootsy sound was coming from. And that led me to the Smithsonian Folkways and the Lomax father-son duo who went around the country and recorded all of these original American roots music. It just got me, I felt like I needed to do my due diligence and do research and then I just discovered this huge, of course, treasure trove of history there and of American roots music catalogs that are out there. And and I guess from that point, gained inspiration from that. Sometimes literally, I wrote a song called Polly that's based on one of those folk recordings that came out of the Deep South called Wicked Polly. That's a cautionary tale to all the youngsters out there that if you go to dances with your friends, you will burn in hell for all of eternity. I know it's a spiritual song that's in the spiritual section of this collection. And so, mine is more of like an apologetic for Polly, for poor Polly. But I just love the rich history of it. And I love that it's uniquely American. And I always think that I will write in that fashion, that I'll always be a storyteller.
And when you write, do you write with a guitar? Do you write with a piano? What works best for you when you're sitting down and putting the pieces together?
I definitely gravitate toward the guitar. That's normally how I write or where I start writing all my songs. I sometimes will go to the lap steel, which I love playing with the full band. But again, that's something that I'm kind of going away from now, that kind of more overtly blues rock sound. But I still love that instrument so much and am always inspired by slide guitar in general.
That's great. And I'm excited about the album, which is out now. It's called Shift. Lauren Calve is our guest today. And so you're going to do another song for us?
Yes, I'm going to play Everything at the Same Time, which was the second single that we released off of Shift.
All right. Everything at the Same Time. Here is Lauren Calve on Border Crossings.
Everything into dream and waking worlds blur. Everything, everything, everything at the same time. Swirls of cobalt deep inside, tracing veins on my thighs. Flames rage on hollowed ground. Calm waves make the same sound. I am luminous, I am light. I get heavy when the storm clouds ignite. Everything, everything, everything at the same time. For all of the times it was taken away, for all of the ways I gave it away, I'll gather and plant it all and watch it grow. Everything, everything, everything at the same time. Everything, everything, everything at the same time.
Border Crossings and Lauren Calve. So tell me about the inspiration for that song. Sounds like a lot going on.
Yes, as you can tell from the title. Yeah, so I was reading a book about alchemy and alchemical opposites in terms of Jungian psychology. And don't even ask me how I got on that subject, but it is a very fascinating read. I was looking at, just pairs of opposites that found in alchemy that were thought. The theory of the opposites was that when two opposites combine, that's when they create this chemical reaction that, of course, their main goal was to create gold, but that would create another substance. And so I extrapolated that to my own life and thinking about contradictions and how, we all have them and we all live with contradictions, but it's about, the song is about embracing the contradictions in our lives and to realize that we aren't just this or that, but we are both and also trying to embrace that concept more of the both and approach to life has been really helpful for me.
I like to ask songwriters where the most unusual places you ever got inspiration for a song.
That's definitely one of them. Reading about medieval alchemy. But I mean, yeah, for me, I'm very much drawn to like literary inspiration, or like I said, Wicked Polly was kind of a strange one, going back to like an old folk recording from the 1920s. I'm inspired by, I've been inspired by short stories, and actually one of the songs on the album is about my daily walks during quarantine, where I'd walk on the paths behind my house and on the Anacostia River. And every spring, the ospreys come and fish in the Anacostia River for the herring. And it's one of the more striking things I've seen in nature. There's, I mean, 24 of them sometimes on this stretch of river in my house. And at this peak time, this peak fishing time, and seeing them every day and being inspired in that way and feeling connected to nature inspired the song on the record called When I'm Gone. And it's a song about the ways in which we escape from ourselves and sometimes back to ourselves. And that was a way in which I found my way back to myself. And it was like a very grounding experience.
Now, when we talk about finding your way back to yourself, we talk about the shifts in your life, the changes. I did want to touch on the fact you've been dry now for a while, alcohol free.
Yes.
And so that's, to me, that's great. Congratulations to you on that. So the alcohol has always been a struggle for you, from what I read. Why do you go to that particular vice when you're needing to get out of a rut or something?
Yeah, good question. I think it's a lack of imagination. I mean, not to diminish the struggle that a lot of people have with it, because a lot of times there's a predisposition there. It's a genetic predisposition too. And I don't want to make light of it, but yeah, for me, I mean, I think I've heard it called, I think aptly called the crappy consolation prize. And it's kind of something that takes the edge off, and it works until it doesn't. But it kept me from really getting to the meat, getting to like the bone of what was really going on in my life. And it was really preventing me from not only getting to the going to the dark places where I needed to experience healing, but also it robbed me of feeling as joyful as I could, as I'm able to feel, and all the good things in life that I was depriving myself of.
It's got to be a very difficult temptation for somebody in your business when you're performing in clubs and there's alcohol being served all around you. But I just wanted to know, what advice do you have for people who might be facing similar challenges? Because there's a lot of, the many artists, many people, many of your fans look up to you. You're a role model because of the position you're in. So what advice do you have for those people who might be struggling with alcoholism or some other kind of addiction?
Well, I don't know if I feel a little bit insecure because I haven't been drinking for just 6 months. And I know that I'm not in the program or anything. I wouldn't have considered myself, I guess, an alcoholic, but that's all shades of gray. But I don't feel like at liberty to, I guess, give any kind of advice on this subject. But I do think that, and this is what came out of Shift, is that we all have an inner knowing. And for me, writing these songs and accessing that knowing that I have, that deep spiritual kind of soul knowing, is what gave me these songs. And it's what got me out of some toxic behaviors and relationships. And it's now what I'm leaning on more than ever to guide me into the next shift. I just know that if I have that, if I can lean on that inner knowing that and trust it, it'll become louder, it'll become more confident, or that I'll be more confident in following it. It's like a more of a symbiotic relationship rather than me tamping it down or numbing it or not feeling it. I guess that's my thing. And that's what helped me so much, is to tap into the knowing.
So what song are you going to do for us next? We have one more song.
Yes, the last song I'm going to play is the third single called Subtle Alchemy.
Subtle Alchemy. Here is Lauren Calve on Border Crossings.
Little patches of snow, every day another goes. Ambient traffic snores, sitting still in her car. Dead cells on winter skin, fresh ones form and cycle in. Heat ignites a humming sound, blowing particles around. And it feels like, and it feels like mouthfuls of crusty bread, smoke rises from the shed. Light through a lampshade turns black fur into gray. Thoughts stroll like passers-by. The engine comes alive in a frame. Your hands on me, a subtle alchemy. And it feels like, and it feels like metal motion in the drive, combustion smoke from a pipe. In hand a key he holds, catches light and turns to gold. An open door, your hands on me, a subtle alchemy. And it feels like, and it feels like, oh, and it feels like, and it feels like.
Border Crossings. Lauren Calve is our guest today. And that's an interesting song. I mean, interesting title. It's hard to say, but it's an interesting title. Subtle Alchemy.
Yes, thankfully, I only sing it twice. It's not part of the chorus. It's not really the easiest thing to sing or say, as you said. But yeah, like I was describing with everything at the same time, you can guess that I was similarly inspired by what I was reading about alchemy when I wrote Subtle Alchemy. And I was sitting here in this chair, and directly on the other side of me are windows to the outside in my neighborhood. And it was a practice, kind of like an open-eyed mindfulness practice of just looking outside and noticing the shifts and the changes and how everything is dynamic, everything is alive. And all of the lyrics are kind of derived from my direct observations from my dining room windows.
Mm-hmm.
And the alchemy in that, what I was trying to connect is that everything can be alchemy if we look at it a certain way, and that, you know, we're constantly surrounded by change and dynamics and everything, like I said, is alive and yeah, that's kind of what I was just trying to convey, that even in the quiet moments, even when things feel really stagnant, that they're not, and things are constantly in flux and changing and shifting.
And you sound like an avid reader, obviously, read a lot of books. Have you thought about writing a book? And if you have, what would the subject be?
That's a good question. I have not thought about writing a book, but I do enjoy writing poetry. I think it's a great balance to songwriting because it's a bit more free form and I think a little looser. And I feel like I can say things in poems that I struggle to say or can't fit into the structure of a song. So I've thought about that. Maybe at some point releasing a collection of poems.
Do you go back and visit some of the songs you wrote when you were younger, like your very first songs, and say, where was I at? What was going on in my life? And then, you know.
For sure. Yeah. In fact, I haven't been doing this that long. I wrote my first song, again, that I didn't hate. I always say that because it finally felt true to me. It felt like my voice in the song. And that was about 10 years ago. And I still play this song out. It's called Sweep. And yeah, when I introduce it, I always say that songs that you've written that long ago, when you reflect on them now, it's like you can be your own psychoanalyst and kind of see the through lines and what the metaphors were about and what I was really trying to say. And so the song, the chorus in the song is about the river sweeping me off my feet, and taking me away from kind of this problematic life or this stagnant life. And now looking back, I can see that it was kind of another catalyst song for the shift. That was me taking music more seriously, becoming a more serious songwriter, and honestly taking those labels finally and finally seeing myself as a singer-songwriter and pursuing it as a career.
Your favorite, or I should say your top 3 choices for collaborators. They can be dead or alive, it can be songwriting, it can be performing, musical greats who play instruments. What top 3 you'd like to work with, dead or alive?
Patty Griffin is my favorite songwriter. Her more than anyone else has inspired. She more than anyone else has inspired me to pursue songwriting. I love everything about her music, her voice, her lyrics, her performance, what she says in her songs. To me, it's the mind soul experience. I think when you get that from music, that's the best. And I guess second would be Daniel Lanois. He was a big influence for me for the sound of Shift. When I did a pre-production playlist that I shared with Dex, there were a few songs from 2 albums that he produced, one with Bob Dylan, one with Emmylou Harris. I just love his production style. And third, oh my gosh, we're talking about folk music. I just would have loved to have met Woody Guthrie. He's just, speaking of American roots music, is just such an iconic artist, and has influenced just countless people. He's such an original and so prolific. And I've read his autobiography and his biography and just think he's a fascinating person and a true American original.
And if people want to find out more about you or your tour schedule or get your music, where do people go to find Lauren Calve?
You can visit my website at laurencalve.com. That's where I have all the specifics for the tour that I'll be on in September and October, and more dates to be announced as well. And you can find me on social media at Lauren Calve.
Can you spell your name for our audience?
Yes, Lauren, Lauren, Calve, Calve.
All right. Check out Lauren Calve online on her website and reach out to her. Send her a message on social media, probably respond, I'm sure, to a lot of your fans and their comments and whatnot. And it's been a pleasure to meet you. Is there anything you would like to say before we go to the worldwide audience that are tuned in 100 countries around the globe, and also the troops who also tune in to this program and the Voice of America?
Oh, that's so great. Yes, I love that. Yeah, I'm honored to be a part of this, and so great to be talking with you, Larry. And yeah, I just I hope that people enjoy listening to Shift, and that it can help guide them through their own shifts in life. I think that would be kind of the greatest thing I could hope for with this album.
Well, we're thrilled to have you on the show. Congratulations on the new album. And please come by and visit us when you're in the DC area. We'd love to have you on again.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Lauren Calve is our guest, and you are watching Border Crossings on VOA TV.